So all that prison talk earlier got me jumping the gun. So I tried to share a story about how I got arrested on my mission for feeding cats, and my phone just kept stopping, and then it was like, well, you're leaving a lot of holes in your story. We got to know the details. Like, what were you arrested for? What happened? Anyway, so I'm going to try and clarify that now. So we were teaching an investigator sort of in the projects, and this was near the coast near Boston, like Cape Cod area. And this investigator had agreed to, we set a baptismal date. She was really excited to get baptized, and she goes, I'm going out of town to tell my mom, and I'm going to give her a Book of Mormon. And so we gave her an extra copy to share with her mom. She left for a week. We set up an appointment for when she got back. We went over to the appointment we had set up, and she wasn't back yet. And so it was record heat all that week in July. It was really hot, and she had a mama cat with 3 baby kittens, and they were all in the front window, and they were making noises, and they looked distressed. And so we knew that they were just roasting in there, and they probably needed help. So her next door neighbor was watering the grass, and so I just asked, hey, has anyone been in here to feed these cats or take care of the cats? And he's like, nope, I haven't seen anyone go in or out of there, and those cats have been in that front window like basically all week. And so my companion, being from California and super, hey, we got to save the animals type, he was like, we're going in. And he tried to open the front door, and I was like, hey, we can't really just break and entering. Maybe we can try and call the owner, Teresa, on her cell phone, or do something like that. And he was already running to the back door, trying to open it. The back door was also locked, so the front and back door were locked. And I was like, okay, well, it's all right, Elder. Let's just, we'll say a prayer and hope for the best. And he noticed when we were coming back around to the front that one of the side windows was partially open, like air was going in. And so he reached up and slid it the rest of the way open. And he said, give me a boost. And so I gave him a boost, and I boosted him up into the window just so he could look in. And he saw like little cans of cat food, like labeled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So the cats probably ate all the food in like one day, and they were starving all week. He pulled himself the rest of the way in, unlocked the back door and to let me in. And when I went in, we were just going to get milk, okay? We'd like find some milk or something in the fridge, take care of the cats, and then just leave. And no big deal, right? Well, as soon as he opened the back door to let me in, all the cats ran out. They were just, air, I can breathe. And the baby kittens were just on the patio eating crabgrass. The mama cat jumped the fence, and I was like, oh no, how are we going to get her back? So I scooped up a couple baby kittens and took them inside and poured a bowl of milk, and they just started lapping it up. And then I had another bowl of milk like in my hands, and I was taking it out to see if I could maybe lure the mama cat back, because we could see her back over the fence. And I thought, if I bring milk, she'll come out. And as I was exiting the house with a bowl of milk in my hands, a police officer comes around the backyard, and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, just looking at this bowl of milk. Oh, we're feeding the cats. And I was like, okay, I can handle this. I'm the senior companion. I was actually the district leader at the time. And my companion was only this is his second week on the mission. So he's very new. I was training him, and I was not doing a very good job. So, oh, excuse me. Anyway, the police officer starts questioning us, and he's like, oh, okay, so the owner gave you permission to feed her cats? And I was like, well, no, but we have been over a number of times the past couple weeks, and we know the cats, and she wouldn't mind if she knew that we were taking care of her cats. I don't think she would mind. And so the police officer was just got this kind of pondering look on his face, like, oh, can I arrest missionaries? What do I do? And my companion just like broke the silence and said, have you no respect for animal life? Those cats would have died if we didn't go in there. Anyway, I was like, Elder Fletcher, shut up. I got this. But the police officer told him to be quiet for me because he read us our rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you can't say can or be held against you in a court of law. So here we are getting our Miranda rights read to us. He called in backup. There's 3 police cars out front, red lights flashing, and about a crowd. It seemed like about at least 100 people. It was probably more like maybe 40 or 50, but like since she lived in the projects, there was like all these houses that were really like stacked on top of each other. And so all these people are like, what's going on? What's going on? And then he has his backup officer cuff me. So my hands are cuffed behind my back like this. And I was trying to bite off my name tag. And so these 2 missionaries, white shirts and ties and name tags, getting escorted out around to the front of the yard with all these people looking like, oh, those guys knocked on my door the other day. Like, it was embarrassing. Anyway, they were looking through our trunk to see if we were stealing anything. And they found like pamphlets and copies of the Book of Mormon in there. And they said, okay, we're going to put you in one car and this guy in another car. So they separated us into 2 different police vehicles and took us to the new Bedford police station. And when we got there, they handcuffed us to the wall next to a payphone. I didn't have any money, so I was like, I'll just call collect. So I called the mission office collect. I guess I had the number memorized or something. And I remember the office elders answering and saying, Elder Alger, where are you calling from? Why are you calling collect? And I'm like, we're at New Bedford Police Station. He's like, the police station? I'm like, yeah, we got arrested. And then I hear him yell in the office, Alger got arrested! And all the other missionaries are like, woo! And anyway, I was like, no, this is serious, guys. This is not a time to cheer and party. This is like, I need help. Is the mission president there? And President Munns he goes, no, he's actually driving between zone conferences right now. So he will, we can try and patch you through and on his cell phone. He had a cell phone in his car. And so he put me on hold, and about like 5 minutes later, I just hear, this is President Munns. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? So when I'm uncomfortable, I usually joke around, and I'm like, President, I don't think we're going to get to bed by 9:30 tonight, or whatever the mission rules were. And he's like, why not? And I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay. We're in the police station. He's like, what happened? And I told him what happened, and I explained the situation, and he surprised me with, well, I hope you weren't stealing anything, because intent to commit a felony means you were going to do $500 or more worth of damage. Like, it's like, well, yeah, we were going to take the TV, but we just want to make sure the cats are well fed. That's what I thought. I did not say that. but anyway, he's like, just, you don't need to say anything. When the owner of the house gets back, just, she has to press charges and all this stuff. So he's like walking me through, and he goes, I'm going to call the zone leaders, and the zone leaders are going to come get you. But we had to post bail, and the bondsman wasn't going to come in until like midnight. So once the police report was all written up and stuff, they transferred us to the prison, and he says, we're going to put you in maximum security, but not because you're like a threat, but because it's the safest, cleanest place in the prison. And so we were each in our own maximum security jail cell right next to each other. Now, we could talk and hear each other, but we couldn't see each other. I just remember like singing "A Poor Wayfaring Man of Grief," or we were like, it was boring. Like prison, there's nothing to do. I was just counting all the bolts in the ceiling and the walls. The time was going by really slowly. And one of the sergeant over the prison that night came over to talk to us because, the words kind of spread throughout the police station. And he's like, "Hey, whose house was it?" And I was like, "Just a friend's." And he's like, "Was it an investigator?" I was like, "Oh, an investigator, maybe you know something." And I was like, are you a member? He's like, "Yeah, but I haven't been to church in like 10 years. And my wife, and we have a couple kids that are like 5 and 6, and she's like, we should raise them in a church." And I didn't really know how to bring it up to her that I was already a member of a church and all this stuff. And I was like, well, if you want, maybe this is why we're here. Why don't you give me your information and we'll come over and we can teach you. We can teach you and your wife together. And so he wrote his name and address and phone number down on a paper and slid it through the bars. And when he walked away back to his office, I was like, "Hey, Elder Fletcher, I got a member referral in jail." And he was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, the sergeant's a member and wants us to teach his wife." Anyway, so we, when the bondsman came in, I didn't have any money. It cost $50 to get out. And the sergeant gave us $50 so that we could get out, and the zone leaders could take us back to our apartment. They got the trial to be the next day or two. So we went to court like a day or two later, and the owner, Teresa, was back by then, and she just dropped all charges, and there was nothing, there's no record or anything of the incident. But I went back and gave the sergeant a picture of the Savior to hang in his office and his $50 back. And so there was actually a news article, so it actually opened up a lot of doors. I remember just everywhere we tracked it, the rest of that month was like, were you the guys that got arrested? Stupid New Bedford police. How dare they arrest missionaries? If anything, you're making their job easier, all this stuff. So it opened a lot of doors. It got us to talk to a lot of people. And even though it seemed really, really bad, it actually probably needed to happen so that we could teach and baptize some families. And anyway, that's my story about getting arrested on my mission. I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot of other stuff, but it's already way over 10 minutes. So hopefully that will satisfy everyone.